This is the type of the ultrasonography, and the position of the hip. Most of the time it is done in this way, but some people go through the inguinal ligament as well. But this coronal planes imaging is very important. You can see here by relying on the supine and this little bit rotation, they place this vertically so that you can get a coronal plane ultrasonography of the hip joint. This is the X-ray picture. You must keep it in mind. In the next slide, it will help you which structure is the labrum and which structure. So this is again the position of hair. It will give a diagrammatic representation like this. But if we will convert this with the coronal plane, and if we will convert this, so here this is the gluteus maximus, here is the labrum, here is the axis of the bone. This is called the bony axis, like this, bone of the axis of the ilium. So there is a labrum here, then there is a acetabulum here, and the bony structure of the ilium. Bony structure of the ilium is this. So ilium is a transverse axis. Then there is a cartilage here, acetabular cartilage. Over the acetabular cartilage is the labrum, and this is the capsule, and this is the greater trochanter, which is here. So greater trochanter, capsule, the labrum, and then the ilium, and the posteriorly you will find the iliac bone. So they draw a multiple lines on this, and this is the focus of the femoral head. This is the greater trochanter, this is the labrum, this is the capsule, this is the bony, this is axis of the ilium, this is the anterior coverage of the bone, that is called ilial portion of the acetabulum. This is triradiate cartilage, and after triradiate this is the ischium, and here is the femur. So you must, this is femoral head, trochanter, labrum anteriorly, this is the cartilage, this is the capsule, this is the iliopsoas tendon, rectus femoris tendon, and this is the iliac bone, and this is the iliac bony portion of the ilium. This is triradiate cartilage. I repeat because you must understand this figure easily. Then transducer, if it is placed like this inflection, you get more information of the containment. This is the femoral femur here and the greater trochanter. Agar femoral head, this is the glutei and the muscles. This is the labrum. This is the ischium. So transducer placed in the different way. So now ultrasonography, they given the baselining along the ilium through femoral head to the point where the pericardium unite with the pericardium is the virtually cartilaginous portion over the bone. So this is the transverse axis, which is the main baseline axis, which is called femur. This is the junction of the pericardium with the bone. Then a second line, which is called roof line. Roof line along the acetabulum roof intersecting the baseline from lower edge of the ilium at the triradiate cartilage to point with pericardium. So here is the triradiate cartilage, this is the pericardium attachment bone. So this is called the roof line. This is called the roof line. And roof line indicates the bony coverage, this axis. Then comes the transverse or inclination line, how much the cartilage of the acetabulum is inclined across the top of the femoral head. So from top of the femoral head, again on the same junction point. So these triangles it produces, which is called beta triangle, and this is called alpha triangle. This is alpha triangle, transverse line, roof line, femoral top baseline. So here is the acetabular labrum, this is cartilage, this is the triradiate cartilage, this is the ischium, this is greater trochanter, this is femoral head, this is the bony ilium. So they produce the two angles. One is the beta angle, and other is the alpha angle. Beta angle usually is for subclassification, and it informs about the labrum, how much labrum is developed. And this indicates how much roof is developed. So this angle, alpha beta angle, alpha angle is persistently permanent angle and less variable as compared to the beta angle. So there is an alpha angle and then there is a beta angle. If you come here, again you find there is a labrum, development of the cartilage over the bone. And then there is a roof that is called triradiate cartilage. And this angle, alpha and beta, are fixed angles. And normally, the beta angle is less than 55 and alpha angle is more than 55. So it is written here alpha angle to indicate the degree of acetabular development and the depth of the acetabulum, while alpha angle determines the type, the beta angle determines the subtypes. So here is again a beta angle, and this is the alpha angle. This is bony portion, this is cartilaginous portion. Alpha angle reflects the depth and the slope of the acetabulum. Normally it is more than 60 degree, and angle less than 50 degree, 55 degree indicates the displacement. So if you consider these two lines, if angle is increasing, this angle increase, it means the bone is developing, coverage is more good, and depth of acetabulum is more. But if alpha angle reduces, it means the bone from this area to this area reduces. So when bone reduces, the alpha angle decreases. When the bone reduces, naturally there is cartilage portion and more and less development of the labrum as well. So alpha angle when reduces, the beta angle increases. So keep in mind, if alpha angle reduces and beta angle increases, it means there is a hip is subluxating out and acetabulum become more obtuse, and it produces the dysplasia of the acetabulum. So here is the beta angle again, already described less than 55 degrees. So if beta angle decreases, the alpha angle increases, and it produces more acetabular verticality and subluxation of hip. While in protuso-acetabulum, alpha angle increase more and beta angle is reduced, and it goes in the mode. That is not our concern today. So this beta angle usually denote a subluxated or displaced femoral head. Again, you can see in the vertical directions here, alpha angle and the beta angle. Alpha angle should be more than 65, beta angle less than 55. And if there is a difference, then the alpha angle increases, beta angle decreases. Alpha angle decreases, beta increases. It means the hip is coming out, subluxating like this. So it decreases the depth of the acetabulum. So again, same description here. Normally there is a beta angle here and there is alpha angle here. When the head reduces, the cartilage bone portion reduces like this, the alpha angle decreases here. Alpha angle, and the beta angle increases because there is a bony deficits increases. So here is the another view, rounded, intended, subluxated hip. How do this appears? The green is the roof angle again, and yellow is the labrum. And when there is a subluxation, this yellow also reduce, and it produce more obtusity, and alpha angle reduces as the bone developments become, and red is the shallow acetabulum. Following that, there is a multiple types of the Graf. This is particularly for the research purposes. I will not go into the detail. You can read after this slide share on this. This indicates alpha angle is less, increase more than 53 months of age, and the development of the acetabulum type 2 subluxation, and then type 3 means alpha angle is less than 40 degree, it produces dislocated hip, and high dislocations both are disturbed. So it is further subtyping of Graf. There are limitations as well, particularly age. This ultrasound works up to the 6 months of age. After that, X-ray is more reliable because they cannot tell you if there is a dislocation, frank dislocation. They will tell you with the dynamic split, dynamic ultrasound, that it is dislocatable, yet dislocatable. And I have an example in the next presentation. I will show you how they decay. But if the baby is 12 months or greater, they produce greater extra creases, normally visible, and X-ray is a good tool for this. Equipment selection is also very important. Karachi, I have found only 4 or 5 good ultrasonographic results. They shows in Aga Khan and Zaudi and the ARC, and the people only taken, because in newborn up to only 12 megahertz probe is sufficient. But when the age increase about 3 months, it needs a higher good probe to indicate the dislocation. Then patient preparation is also very important. He must be relaxed. He must be with the parents. He must be better is to have a parent's laps. And sometimes they give the syrup to make them temper and less irritable. If they are irritable, this ultrasound will not give a good results. Then who should be for the screening protocol? So there is a very good picture here. The patient having torticollis, female child, and then child having a history of the DDH in the family. And then if there is a breech presentation or metatarsal adductus or rocker bottom deformity, foot deformities, neck deformities, and the family history and breech presentation. These are the people which are prone for the dislocation. They must be screened at the birth and at the neonatal time, and also support with the ultrasound. That's why with this risk factors, they now call primary screening program in the newborns, not at the birth. And there were reasons for that. Since 80s, baby increasing use of dynamic splint and ultrasound of babies is a reduced number of the newborns of unstable hips treated the abduction were more than 70 degrees. So reduction from common in the 60s or 40s, they were late diagnosed. Now the 70% of them got treated, having good splints and good results. Unnecessary use of abduction splint and complication were reduced after the introduction of ultrasonography. Nowadays, in 2002, literature is late presentation is never seen in the European or community where the screening protocols are observed.